Hi, I'm Sophie Goodman, an anthropologist working in design research, strategy and customer experience.
And I'm Monty Badami. I'm an anthropologist and the CEO of Habitus, a social enterprise that uses anthropology, emotional intelligence and educational psychology to rehumanise schools, communities and businesses.
Our paper takes a look at a change approach we're calling Citizen Ethnography. Just as citizen science is a way for non-scientists to contribute to scientific data collection, knowledge and outcomes, Citizen ethnography is where non-ethnographers are trained in the tools and techniques of ethnography to investigate, analyse and lead their own change initiatives.
We define it as a process whereby the people who belong to the community being researched are the ones responsible for generating knowledge and meaning about their lived experience and are responsible for driving change interventions for themselves.
Our paper connects with this year's conference theme of anticipation in two ways. Firstly, how do we enable communities to anticipate their own futures? And secondly, what do we anticipate as a future for ethnography? We think that citizen ethnography is a valuable approach for both the people we work with and an important part in our future practice. By working with communities to do their own ethnography, we think this approach has the potential to leave communities better equipped to navigate their possible futures beyond a one-off moment-in-time research project completed by outsiders. We expect citizen ethnography to lead to important benefits and outcomes, such as increased individual and collective skills for community members and healthier, more resilient communities. We think that by helping citizens to do their own ethnography, the chances of successful and suitable change to occur increases. This is because the community trusts that the process and results of the research are truly grounded in the reality of the community. They are community-led and owned, not just community-informed, as is more often the case in traditional consultation processes. In our roles as ethnographers in industry, we are often viewed as the experts of researching people, charged with understanding and conveying the experience of others. The value of this perceived expertise has seen us make substantial inroads into multiple organisational contexts, such as strategy, innovation, marketing, policy, and consulting and design roles. However, as many EPIC members would know, questions have been raised over the years about what ethnography has lost in its transition into organisational and commercial settings. Past EPIC papers have expressed concern about ethnography's commodification, co-optation and separation from its theoretical foundations. Like all good ethnographers, we're turning the lens back onto the powerful, in this case onto the ethnographer, to critique the production of knowledge in the ethnographic encounter. For us, citizen ethnography is a significant shift away from this positioning of the ethnographer as expert researcher. With this approach, we seek to reconnect ethnography to its very strong pedigree of literature and practice that has a well-established method and a foundation in the ethics of representation. To help understand the stepping away of the ethnographer that is so central to the approach we're talking about, and to the type of benefits we think it could bring to those we work with, I'm going to hand over to Monty, who is currently experimenting with this approach.
Kiama, a small rural town in Australia, has experienced a disproportionately high rate of youth suicide over the past 11 years. Since COVID, this problem has intensified, and in 2020, the community suffered the loss of several young people. The community very quickly mobilised around the shared experience of grief, loss and social disruption. And underpinning this was a desire to give meaning to the experience and to actively do something to reconcile the overwhelming sense of powerlessness and confusion felt by many. As a result, a number of community organisations and local action groups formed and mobilised in order to initiate interventions for change. And this is where we came in. Through participatory engagement with young people and people working with young people, we've prototyped a suite of programs that looks at how ethnographic methods can be used as tools to both understand the issues facing young people in Kiama, as well as a way to enable young people and other community members to develop their own solutions and strategies for change. Right from the outset, the Kiama community wanted to take charge of its own change interventions and to be the drivers of the data that facilitated that change. Here we're seeing a desire to break from the dynamics of power between the researcher and the researched, and this resulted in the development of the Community Mental Health Index. The Community Mental Health Index is a survey designed by professionals within the community to generate baseline data. However, because of the kinds of community members involved, well-meaning community members who are also corporate change professionals, We were falling into the trap of providing a corporate culture change strategy to a community problem. Now, obviously it's important to validate the desire of the community members to authorise their own change for themselves. However, we also needed to interrogate the existing data and identify not only what it told us, but more importantly, what and who it left out. If the adult community members wanted to drive their own change, we imagined what it must be like for the young people in the community. We knew that the young people of Kiama needed to have their voices heard. In fact, they approached us to get this program started. We also knew that peer-to-peer relationships are so much better than adult-to-child relationships in successfully identifying and responding to risk of harm. We therefore leveraged the findings of the survey to create a program that not only provided the skills for young people to deal with what was happening in their lives, but also helped them to capture information that was generally inaccessible to the adults in the community. We developed 3 programs that supported young people to connect with each other, reflect on their experiences, share those experiences with others using a range of mediums, and define what really mattered to them as opposed to what the adults thought mattered. We supported them to design and implement their own change initiatives and then empowered them with the skills to facilitate those programs for the next round of young people. Because the workshop design included not only skills development but also mechanisms to gather data, a central feature of our training was to impart an ethnographic mindset and skill set to young people in the program. Young people are obviously better placed to know what's going on for themselves and for other young people in the community. But in Kiama, they were not reaching out when they needed to. By reducing stigma and normalising conversations about mental health and suicide, we were providing young people with proven preventative strategies to deal with life's challenges, but we were also equipping them with the skills to process their experiences safely and appropriately. And through the delivery of the programs, community-generated evidence was captured, synthesised and shared. The data collected was analysed by the community and expressed in things like films, posters, community art programs, and a whole range of other events that enabled community members to come together and to keep processing their experiences with each other in a meaningful way. By centering young people's experiences and really listening to what they have to tell us, we can develop more relevant and intentional interventions for young people in moments of crisis. As ethnographers, we've never been the subject matter experts. The community members always were. As ethnographers, we simply use a range of teachable techniques to elicit the embodied and unspoken truths that cannot be gained from a focus group or an interview alone. In essence, anthropologically informed ethnography has always been about the politics of representation and the ethics of engagement. So we're simply seeking a return to these foundational concepts. We want to reinvigorate the value of anthropological theory and methods in ethnographic practice. We believe that ethically informed ethnography is something that emerges from a community and that must be in service of that community. As such, we've initiated this prototype, knowing full well that there is not one way to do citizen ethnography. We know that once we've set the foundations, we can step away so that the community can make it what it needs to be for them as they process their own experiences and they get their own voices heard. And it's this stepping away that we believe holds the key to more meaningful interventions for change as people imagine and anticipate their own future.